Hey guys, Kyle, the Death Knight of Anime here, bringing you my review for Fire Force episode 24, the last episode of Fire Force until season 2, and which of course has been slated to come out in basically January 1st of 2020, and that's actually something that's actually an odd thing I thought I'd mention off the top of my head. Has anyone noticed that a lot of anime that I'm going to be watching or even reviewing are going to be coming out on the first month of of a certain month of 2020. Like with pretty much Fire Force, it's coming out like January 1st, as well as I believe like the Demon Slayer movie as well. The Demon Slayer movie and Fire Force are both coming out on the same month, and the same goes for Attack on Titan season 4 and based in the Promised Neverland season 2. All those are coming out on like the first day consecutively on the first day of a certain month. Like it's kind of nuts if you think about it, but yeah. But anyway, I digress. Getting into it, and getting into it, Fire Force episode 24. So I thought I'd start this off by giving my general thoughts on the season as a whole, and I've been thinking about this more and more as I've been reviewing it, from week to week and whatnot. But I think the way to sum up my thoughts, the way to sum up my thoughts on this season, for me is that your perception is going to very heavily affect your enjoyment of this series, or at least of this first season. For instance, if you're a manga reader like me, you've probably noticed more than a fair share of flaws within the adaptation, even with the most basically minute of details, but in some way or another have rationalized or just come to terms with the final product, especially considering how much it didn't improve by the second half. Whereas with someone who's an anime only viewer will probably enjoy it a lot more from beginning to end, even despite the initial technical art and animation flaws. So as they have like no knowledge of the manga going in. Of course, it can also work in reverse ways as well, and like at the end of the day, I'd say your enjoyment of this series overall is going to come down to to the personal experience you pretty much have with the experience you end up having with this series, whether or not you've continued it all the way up at this point or dropped it at some point. Like the mindset you basically go into this series is definitely going to determine how you enjoy it, I think. Um, and now, and I myself am kind of in the vein of, despite any criticisms I have lobbed against it, overall, I've really enjoyed the anime adaptation. However, I can recognize it could have been better, and and the thing with me is that I definitely know in like the first half of the anime I was bringing up this up quite a lot, but the thing with the first half of the anime for me especially is there's always going to be that curious voice, the curious curious voice in the back of my head that just kind of wonders about the what ifs, that wonders a lot about the what if scenario, particularly what if that first half, what that first half would have been like had David Productions not been faced with the circumstances they did. Like if the whole if the like I'm not gonna say if the whole Kill Annie situation had not happened, would things have been different in that first half of the anime? Would it have been better, or would the adaptation of the first half been better, or would it have been about the same? That's kind of the curious question I've always been thinking in the back of my mind right now, honestly. But overall, like I said, I can say that the anime adaptation was extremely well handled. And honestly, I can only hope I can only hope for the best for season two. Honestly, I can assume that Japan, like I said, I can assume Japan has worked past this, and season two is going to be like just as epic as the second half. So yeah. Um, and now, with that being said, the start of the episode, the start of the episode with Shinra returning to Company 8 confused the hell out of me, and all I could think was, are they skipping over the whole thing with Burns and with Burns and the whole confrontation between Burns and Shinra? But of course we pretty much inevitably did end up continuing with that after the opening, which I kind of knew we would, but just the whole time jump in itself just really threw me off. And yeah, when we get to the fight, oh boy, that was truly like the hype moment of the episode where the art and animation just went wild. And yeah, it's one of those times again where I wanted this same quality with the first with the first, not only with the like throughout not only throughout the first half, but also specifically with that first fight with Burns. But hey, I'm just happy we basically got it now. And yeah, as I was saying last episode, Burns is really just putting Shinra through basically a pretty much severely intense training session, because in his fight with Sho, like Shinra proved he basically now has what it takes in order to save his brother, like on a level of like pure power and strength. But this particular fight was mainly meant to test Shinra's resolve and strength of will, because if it wasn't clear then, I think it's pretty clear now that whether he knows it or not, Shinra has been going through that whole experience really put a whole feeling really gave Shinra a major case of PTSD. Honestly, like you can really tell. Um, which yeah, Ironclad resolve is definitely something Shinra's gonna need after this episode, where especially when he learns the truth of the horrific tragedy that happened, which is that not only was Sho the one who caused the fire, but that their mother was also the demon infernal who appeared that night, and the demon who appeared in and as well as the demon who appeared in Shinra's Adole-linked dreamscape, or whatever you want to call it. But even on top of that, though, we get confirmation that the entire incident itself was more or less orchestrated by the White-Clad in order to waken more of the Adola bursts in order to achieve their plan of remaking the whole cataclysm again, which so it also plays. So it also plays into what I said last episode about the organization being around since the beginning, and just them finishing where they left off, on top of giving us an explanation on how Sho ended up with the White-Clad to begin with. And yeah, it's it really is kind of one of those things truly where basically where even though it technically gets by in a certain way of even though we could technically say that the Prince Shinra didn't really lose anyone that night, there is still a genuine tragedy there, in the sense of we don't know, like of course Shinra, he basically says outright that his goal is to basically to save his brother and pretty much turn his mother back to human. But with that last one, we don't even know if that's going to be possible right now. We don't even know how possible that's even going to be. And I mean, I get even now, even as a manga reader, I genuinely believe that basically that pretty much Shinra is going to be able to save his brother. That much I know. But his mother, that's the one I'm the more skeptical about, to be honest with you, more than anything else. Uh, and especially considering that that we pretty much learned between this episode and last episode and this episode that basically Hamea's powers are kind of terrifying since she has the ability in order to control minds and whatnot. So yeah, that in itself is an issue. So yeah, it's still an issue that's on the table. So yeah. Um, Now, one other thing that's revealed is that is 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 that through Shinra's Adola link, we see that basically Suichiro Hagier, the captain of the Fourth Company, also has a connection to the events of the past. And I won't give anything away, but let's just say season two is going to be diving even deeper into the interpersonal politics of Fire Force. And honestly, overall, the story is going to get more insane at the start of season two, starting with the confrontation between companies. Like, the confrontation between companies 4 and 8 is where it going to begins, and then it's only going to escalate from there. Because with what Burns tells us, like pretty much with what Burns tells Shinra, we're basically starting to see a lot of story elements really kind of tying a lot of story really starting to tie like pretty much threads together, and it's gonna form an eventual more of a coherent what exactly is going on here. Like we're gonna start really diving into what the story is gonna be like. um and getting back to Shinra's mother being the demon he saw back then, I can't lie to you guys. We're entering into some really strange territory that really skirts the line between scientific and supernatural. I mean, you could say we've been doing that for a while now, but Shinra's mother being a demon and him seeing her in his Adolink world is the kind of thing where we're really diving into just how freaky this world is gonna get. So yeah. Uh, but oh, and of course we pretty much learn as well that in this, and the other thing we learn in this episode as well is that pretty much is that Captain Burns, like under his right eye, when Captain Burns had burned his eye, it basically gave him a vision, a vision of the hell, that the pretty much the of the hell, or of the other world, that the White-Clad, that the White-Clad worship worship through the investors, and what they see as like the underworld, and God and whatnot. So basically with Captain Burns having seen like the Adola Link world and whatnot, it really kind of begs the question of how much he truly knows and how much he's hiding. Because with Captain Burns, I think he definitely is going to be, he frustrates me when I say he's going to be one of the very key characters going forward, even more so than before. Especially after learning what he knows, you just know he's told Shinra what he needed to know, but we don't know how much more he actually knows though. So that's going to be the question going forward, obviously. But yeah, guys, that's my review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Crunchyroll. Death Knight of Anime, signing off. Later, guys.